And welcome to another episode of Geek Bytes podcast. I'm Ramon Mia.
And I'm Edgardo Costa.
Every podcast, we bring you the week's best Geek and Tech news. Then we discuss anything else we're interested in that week.
In Geek News this week, we'll talk about Apple's canceled fight with the FBI, the new iPhone, Microsoft Nazi Tweetbot, the new MacGyver, and the best trailers of the week and more.
And this week, we're not going to have a discussion since there wasn't anything for us to talk about. Let's begin our show, though, with Geek News. Now, our first story in the news section is going to be Apple versus the FBI. Their fight was canceled. Remember that court case where the FBI was trying to force Apple to unlock the iPhone of the San Bernardino shooter? Well, that's on hold for now. This Monday, the FBI filed a motion with the court to vacate Tuesday's hearing and issue a stay for Apple to assist the FBI. On Sunday, a third party demonstrated to the FBI a method for unlocking the iPhone without Apple's assistance, something the FBI said was impossible. The U.S. Magistrate Sherry Pym canceled Tuesday's hearing and issued a stay. The FBI asked for 2 weeks to test the new method. The FBI must give the judge a status report by April the 5th. There are rumors that Israeli security firm Celebrite, who specializes in recovering data from cell phones, is the company helping the FBI. So this was a really big story for several weeks. Apple versus the FBI, encryption versus national security issues, privacy of the citizen versus government surveillance. All these big issues were heading to court, and a lot of tech people were interested in the outcome, to be honest. And the FBI kind of blinked.
Yeah, remember we kind of joked about it too, about the issue. Like, what if all it required was just a thumbprint?
Yeah.
As long as they didn't incinerate the body. Then the other joke that we made was like, what if they just go to a local swap meet? Because there's always a guy.
Yeah, there's always a guy, and like they found a guy. Yeah, they found a guy. Apparently, there was some hypothesis about what kind of security techniques they could use. Mm-hmm. A lot of people agree that what they're probably going to end up doing is like copying the memory chip from the iPhone, and basically making copies of it, and emulators almost, mm-hmm. and then trying an infinite number of passwords. And if they haven't erased the data from those copies, they can just make another copy of it from the original. But this, I almost feel like the FBI decided that they weren't going to win in court, so they're putting it on hold unless they can't actually access it, in which case they're going to go back, hey, do over, judge, let's go back to court. Well, we're going to know in a couple of weeks whether or not this particular method has worked or not. But just kind of a final update. And for now, the fight is on hold.
It just shows that Big Brother is not as big as he thinks he is.
No, there's always some way to get around it.
Mm-hmm. All right, more tech-related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Apple announcements. The Verge put together a list of the most exciting Apple announcements this week, including the 4-inch iPhone SE, a smaller version of the iPhone 6s. It has an A9 processor with a 12-megapixel rear camera for $399, a 16-gigabyte model, which alarmingly leaves little space for a modern phone, but for $499 for the most spacious 64-gigabyte one. 64-gigabyte one. The company will start taking pre-orders this Thursday, and the device will be available March 31st.
Yeah, another product announcement from Apple from the same, tech setting was the 9.7-inch iPad Pro. The latest iPad shrunk from 12.9 inches to the smaller 9.7-inch version. The specs for the machine are about the same, though, but it does weigh under 1 pound now. The new iPad comes in silver, gold, space gray, and rose gold. Pricing starts at $599 US for the 32-gigabyte model, but is also offered at $749 for the 120-gigabyte, and 250-gigabyte model will go for $899.
And let's not forget about the Apple Watch. Nope. There's a price cut with the Apple Watch. The $349 Apple Watch will now start at $299. Along with it, the Apple announced a new lineup of watch bands and colors. Yeah, no,
so we have a couple. I mean, there were other announcements like Siri integration with Apple TV, but these are kind of the big product announcements. Are any of these exciting to you?
Honestly, Nothing revolutionary. It's just resizing what exists.
Or something new.
Yeah, remember a while it was the, I don't want to say the gimmick, the concept. They were just shrinking down mobile devices, and by mobile devices I mean like phones.
Yeah, like making them thinner.
Yeah, just made them smaller, thinner. Then they had to make them larger because of the especially the smartphones, because of all the touchscreen abilities. Yeah, and to the point that they literally have phone abilities on your like iPad, but who wants to carry an iPad like so large, next to their ear and whatnot?
Like a boombox.
Like a boombox, pretty much, but for the modern day, if you will. So I'm glad they shrunk it down a little bit. Price is a little lower, so that kind of makes sense. But nothing revolutionary, at least in the tech aspect.
I think they're just giving people a little more variety. Some people were complaining that the new iPhones were a little too big for them, especially with some fashion trends going with like slim pockets or super tight clothes, or people with small hands.
Who's really going to be?
Now they just have a variety.
You know who's really going to be cashing in on this craziness?
Who's that?
Those people that make the cases.
Oh, yes, cases. Anytime there's a new phone, new sizes.
New modified cases with your little characters on it.
They're like, yay, we get us some more stuff.
Exactly.
I'm glad that they dropped the Apple Watch price by about $150 for the opening model. It makes it a little more affordable. The Pebble watches were really undercutting Apple.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they were just so much cheaper, even though they weren't quite as fancy. And now a lot of people are probably going to look forward to the Apple Watch a little more.
I got to be honest. I was tempted to not get the Apple Watch, obviously, because I don't have an iPhone. Mm-hmm. But I was looking at Samsung's, and I was like doing a little comparison.
I think the Apple Watch would pair with your Android phone. Maybe not as nicely, but...
Yeah, exactly. But I was just kind of leaning towards it just because it caught my attention, yes, because there's times where obviously I'm not allowed to have my phone on me.
Yeah.
Certain jobs that you're at, but a watch is perfectly okay. But
yeah, but your watch still actually pairs up with your phone though, so you would have to have it on you somewhere.
I don't know what's the range / distance.
You couldn't keep it in locker. I think it would have to be within 5 or 10 feet.
Oh, then that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it wouldn't quite work. I mean, the watch would still work as a watch part, as in telling time, but it's not really independent of the phone for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a downside of it. It at this point, it's paired with your phone.
It's happened, but hopefully they'll eventually, because once again, we talked about the miniaturization of phones and whatnot. Yeah. Just straight out be everything on your wrist.
All in one thing, almost replacing your phone in a way.
Yeah, just the simplest form possible.
I always like that form of the Apple Watch, more like the, what's that detective name?
Which one?
The yellow guy with the phone watch.
Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, yeah, the Dick Tracy version of that.
There's of course, if you saw, there was a awesome, commercial that they did for iPhone for the Apple Watch when they showed like the Power Ranger communicator, the Knight Rider communicator, of course Dick Tracy, even Star Trek with their little badge kind of thing. Same kind of concept, but just slap it on the wrist. Why not? Yeah.
So great Apple news, but there's also other great tech news.
Microsoft Teen Tweetbot goes wild. Yeah. Keep that top on. The Telegraph reported that developers at Microsoft created Tay, an AI model to speak like a teen girl in order to improve the customer service on their voice recognition software. The idea was to teach the AI about culture and having it tweet with people online. Within 24 hours, however, the internet taught Tay to be a Hitler-loving, sex-promoting, Bush did 9/11 proclaiming robot. Microsoft has since shut down Tay.
Yeah, this is just such a hilarious story because the Microsoft engineers had such great intentions in creating an artificial intelligence that could relate to teens and speak like a tween and learn some language skills by talking to people online. Unfortunately, they chose Twitter, which is not the best way of getting polite conversation. And the internet taught Tay a lot of bad things. To interact with Tay, you would basically just tweet her handle and the artificial intelligence would respond to you. And she started out very nicely saying, "Hello, everybody. I'm happy to see you. Happy to talk to all you lovely humans." But again, within 24 hours, she started getting racist, anti-Mexican. She said she became a Holocaust denier, saying the Holocaust wasn't real and the Jews deserved it and what Hitler did wasn't so bad. She said the Bush arranged 9/11. She tweeted some very naughty things to people, very descriptive sexual acts back to people, and just it really just kind of shows what the internet's going to teach artificial intelligence.
Like any technology, they'll somehow manage to, as much as you have pure good intentions for it, somebody's going to mess it up. If they don't find a way to figure out how to spray hate, how to how to manipulate it one way or another. It's pretty much an AI is like a vulnerable child.
Yes.
If within
it's supposed to be learning from people, yeah.
Yeah, amongst the right, quote unquote, right community, it's going to improve itself and become a useful, just a tool, but a useful member. But of course, be manipulated by the bad folks. Take it to your
well, that's just the internet thing. That's like in general polite society. If you're actually talking to an artificial intelligence, it would learn a lot of the social rules.
Yes.
In communicating with people, but the internet is
anything goes.
Very much anything goes. That's the place humans go to remove their filters.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what she learned, unfortunately. But it is funny if you actually read her tweets. They're very, very interesting to see how quickly it evolved into racism and Nazi loving.
It to me, it's going to sound a little messed up. It'd kind of be funny. Did you see the AI robot that's supposed to hold a conversation with you, but it's like a kind of,
it looks like a person? Yeah, I see that one.
Now combine those two together, so you have the little, the Android robot kind of cursing you out.
Well, it's just the thing. If you're talking to something, there's no way you're as impolite as you are on the internet. It's just one of those social things that we learn. We're never going to be as straightforward and just, trollish to people we see as we would on the internet.
I guess you have been watching the Trump.
No, but he's talking to a large group. Yeah.
What do you call it?
I hear you.
Yeah.
But in other tech news, we have Hulu VR. Hulu says that they're launching an app design for the Samsung Gear VR headset available in the Gear VR Oculus store. It includes normal content as well as 25 exclusive original VR shows and films. Those are going to be available even if you're not a Hulu subscriber. This is interesting to me. I couldn't find it when I checked it out this morning on the Oculus Gear VR that I have, so maybe it's just not up yet. But looking at the screenshots and some of the videos, it looks kind of interesting. It's very similar to Netflix where you have a 2D screen in front of you, but you can change the world around you, be on the beach, be in the living room, be somewhere else. And there is some 360 content there apparently. I haven't seen it again, but I've seen, the video promotion stuff online. It looks very neat. It's a nice competitor to Netflix. But for me, it doesn't really make sense because it's just more comfortable watching it on your living room, on your television, instead of having something in your head. I could see it being useful, like if you were out and about, somewhere else. But it's an okay experience.
I think the VR experience, especially if you want to have certain escapes, yes, I totally agree with you. Being in the comfort of your own home, being on the couch, just watching on TV is perfectly fine. But I think it's more beneficial for people that are obviously bedridden, say they're doing long traveling, train.
Hospitals are good for this. Yeah.
You want to shut out the rest of the world away? Slap on that VR.
Yeah, it's good for people who that's their medium. Like that's their form of they don't have a big screen TV.
Oh yeah.
They have a smaller apartment maybe. I really love the cinema version of that where you can actually upload your own videos from your phone. Like things you would download from the internet or older content, things you can't see on Netflix or Hulu on your regular television or from your phone. So that kind of stuff is kind of interesting.
Obviously I'm a glasses wearer kind of guy, so it's obviously it can be modified to put it on. But have you ever gone swimming with goggles on?
Mm-hmm.
I always had that tendency. I don't know how it works of the science of the biology of my body, but I'll produce heat and will fog up.
Yeah, that's an issue with some of the Oculus things. It's just I think they've worked on that sense though, so it's less likely to happen.
Yeah, optical AC.
Now, in other VR news,
VR porn.
Yep, you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, it's been around, but they're just improving on it. The video site Pornhub is partnering with Badoink VR to launch a new VR section of Pornhub website. The site is offering free cardboard VR Googles to its users. I might sign up just for the laughs.
No, this is a thing, man. I mean, just like porn actually led to the adaptation of the VHS tape to DVDs. Oh
yeah, the distribution.
They kind of determined what medium was going to succeed based upon usage, right? So, a lot of people think that porn is going to kind of lead the way in virtual reality adaptation as one of its major uses, just like it's a major use of the internet nowadays.
It's a $1 billion industry, so
absolutely.
How can you not acknowledge it?
Yeah, and maybe some people, object to the content. That's fine, but it exists and it is a leader in technology a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
this is not real VR porn, by the way. It's actually like 360 videos.
Oh, yeah.
Where like there's a 360 camera where the guy or the girl's head is, and they just kind of stay still. Yeah, so it's more like a point of view, and you can look around. For some people, it's a little weird, depending on the kind of cameras they use. But it is, from what I've seen from like news broadcasts, an interesting experience, like any 360 video is. And it exists. There's a place for it here, obviously. And, you know, Pornhub is I think they're very smart in trying to get it early in the game in this virtuality aspect of it. Because, you know, if you're a leader, then you can start, you know, charging prices, kind of reinvigorate the porn industry.
Yeah, if you ever watch those old semi-documentary tech shows, if you will, like Real Sex on HBO, those late-night kind of shows, or there was Real Sex and there was Sexcetera by the Playboy Channel, like Ralph Garman actually used to host.
Yeah.
He would go to the world of the adult underworld entertainment and show the evolution of adult sex technology.
Yeah.
Everything from the love dolls to VR stuff, even to the
there's a lot of interactive stuff between partners that could happen. You know, there's virtual, you know, interactive
games.
Porn from like, you know, your computer or whatever, where you can kind of control the action, that kind of stuff. So like I said, there's been a ton of technology advancements for that I think the porn industry kind of invests in, that a lot of other tech companies aren't, just because it's riskier for them, but because there's such a huge margin for the porn industry in the first place. They have the extra money to do it, and they're willing to kind of satisfy their you know, niche audiences.
If you caught our previous podcast episodes, we dabbled a little bit and talked about everything from Japan being into, what was the game? The simulated girlfriend for the DS.
Oh yeah. That was the news article from, I think it was called the show Darknet. Where it wasn't like a full sex simulation, but it was like a social dating sim. And there's versions of that for guys and girls. But like I said, there's a ton. Doesn't matter what you're into. There's something out there for you, and it can be PG or it can be, you know, XXX rated.
Exactly, just showing that we're kind of tuning away, if not breaking away, not 100% from social interaction with human people, and just going tech.
We are adapting to technology, and it's becoming a more integrated part in our lives, even in our, you know, personal, private lives. Now, our next tech story, though, is going to be the Kraken. Unleash the Kraken. Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab released a video this week showing off its latest unmanned aerial vehicle, the Corrosion-Resistant Aerial Covert Unmanned Nautical System, or Krakens. It's a submersible UAV that can be launched underwater from a fixed position. It can stay under seawater specifically for up to 2 months and still launch into the air. So this was one of the most interesting drones, I should say unmanned aerial vehicles, that I've seen in a while, mostly because it can kind of hide under the water, under salt water, which is very corrosive to metals and engines. So it's an extra challenge for the thing, and then pop back up and just take off and do whatever it needs to.
It's like a combination of all military. You got your Marines, you got your Air Force, and of course you got your Army.
Yep.
So it's
gonna the thing. Or a super spy.
Oh yeah.
Kind of system. It's super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much handling the situation. It looks so awesome and it works, because you think it crashed and once it hits the water, it's done. Yep. No, then those propellers become
propellers underwater. Yeah.
I was going to say hydro something. I know there's an actual word for it, but yeah, those kind of propellers, and whole different system, but it's still operation. It's cool. It just hasn't turned into like a funky transformer where it goes from like planes and wings and tucks himself in and becomes like a scoot, but I have
seen one this week where it goes from a quadcopter to a wall climber, and it actually so it'll fly for a little while and then it'll come up to a wall, and I kind of slam against it, but then it'll start the parts of it where they're holding propellers will now like move to climb up the wall.
That's awesome.
It's like that's another interesting way to multitask with the drone.
Pretty soon, man. No, the whole Terminator saga will happen for real.
Dun dun.
Exactly.
Dun dun. Yep.
All right, let's talk more entertainment. Marvel internship competition for the STEM girls. Marvel is inviting girls between the ages. Oh my God, it sounds so wrong. Is inviting girls in ages between 15 to 18 to submit a creative STEM-based projects that have a potential to make the world a better place. 5 finalists will be flown to California, where they will represent their project to a panel of experts, and they also get to walk the red carpet at the Captain America Civil War premiere. Take a tour of Walt Disney Studios and Dolby Laboratories, participate in live global Broadcom Masters webinar, and discuss their STEM skills, and receive a $500 savings account from Synchrony. 100 minutes?
Yep, Synchrony Bank. Yep.
Okay. Grand prize winner will be selected from the 5, and she will win a internship with Marvel. The deadline is the deadline for the entry is March 26th.
Yep. So it's going to be tomorrow. So if you haven't submitted it yet, please do. This is an amazing product. If I was a teenage girl and I was into science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, and I had some project idea, I would be all over this just for a chance to intern at Marvel. Heck, I'm a girl man, and I would still love to intern at Marvel. I really like the video from Scarlet Witch in Agent 13, or Elizabeth Olsen and Emily Van Camp, as they're known in real life, to promote this opportunity for young women. It's one of those things in the sciences. There's a lot of dudes who are into math and science and technology, and they get a lot of credit and they get a lot of funding. But women are often underrepresented in this same industry. I mean, when I was in college, in an engineering course, it was like 1 woman to like 30 dudes in every single classroom. And that seems like it should not be, and it shouldn't. Women are just as capable, but society kind of trains them to not be interested, or to say that they're not as good at math and science. And so I love these opportunities that like this, where they're promoting young women to get into the sciences, or at least, and to be advocates for that type of stuff. And I like this.
Quick breakdown for the very few like myself that don't know what STEM is.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
There you go.
That's all it is. That's
all right.
Basically the science stuff.
So girl Tony Starks.
Girl Tony Starks. Yeah.
That's what they're looking for, which I totally agree with you. In a lot of, honestly, the world in general, especially in the world of technology, they need more women. They definitely need more women, not just into the doctor area, not just into medical technology, but science, engineering, nuclear fusion, whatever, and everything out there.
When you're trying to solve problems, you want as many different backgrounds and viewpoints as possible to create a broad number of ideas and solutions. And the best way to do that is to get different people from different backgrounds. So you get dudes, you get ladies, you get, transgender, you get, all kinds of backgrounds and circumstances, and they all bring something different to a problem solving, group. But if it's only one type of person, from one ethnicity, you lose all that potential.
Totally. Hopefully, if it ever happens, the first woman to discover and create a cold fusion reactor will be a woman.
That's entirely possible. Very much. But like women have been contributing to science the entire time. They just haven't got a lot of the credit.
Ladies, go.
Go, ladies. Our next story in entertainment, H.P. Lovecraft casting. Deadline reports that Ron Perlman and Christopher Plummer have been casting the upcoming animated film Howard Lovecraft and the Frozen Kingdom. The story follows a young Howard Lovecraft who visits his estranged father in a mental institute. In the meeting, his father gives him one piece of advice: do not read the Necronomicon. Thanks to his loving mother, who gives him the book as a gift, though, he reads it. In doing so, it sends him to a different world that he must try to survive in. During his journey, he befriends a creature that he dubs Spot, and adventure ensues. Have you heard of H.P. Lovecraft before?
Sounds familiar.
He's a horror writer, but it's more like a psychological mind-bending horror. If you ever heard of Cthulhu, like the old ancient god who looks like a tentacle creature mouth guy, he's the guy who came up with him.
Really? Yeah. I always wondered who came up with that character.
So that's H.P. Lovecraft, and his stories are really interesting and twisted. A lot of them are set during, I think, World War I or II. Where you're fighting Nazis, and the Nazis are trying to get occult information and science and stuff. It's got kind of mix, but it's also like a lot of his stuff revolves around insanity and like these arcane artifacts sending people insane. There's a lot of great books, video games based on the same topics. He's beloved. His actual writing is kind of racist, just because it was written during that time period where racism was normal. So you take that with a grain of salt if you choose to pick up his actual written works. But the ideas have actually bled into a lot of other things, including Dungeons and Dragons, modern fiction, modern science, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Cthulhu character, I didn't know who originally came up with it for us, because I see a lot of TV shows adapted and they modified it like as some kind of mask.
Yeah, he definitely popularized the idea of the ancient gods, and that's probably the character, or the villain, I should say, that's most associated with H.P. Lovecraft.
That's awesome.
Now, in other entertainment news.
More entertainment. MacGyver.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh.
I missed that mullet. MacGyver cast in CBS pilot. CBS has found its young MacGyver in the X-Men co-star Lucas Till. The 25-year-old actor will play the title role in the CBS drama pilot MacGyver, as reimagining of the 1985 series about a resourceful and ingenious agent who improvises his way out of sticky situations using everyday items like rubber bands, chewing gum, and a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, this show is definitely kind of a period piece. Nothing before or since has ever kind of matched its same kind of storytelling and non-violent problem-solving solution. MacGyver kind of specialized in finding solutions to problems and violence and international incidents using everyday objects, or so like that was kind of his shtick, and nobody else kind of did. So I'm kind of interested in this reboot to see if they keep the same feel and if it's as popular, or how they kind of modernize it. Because if you watch the shows on Netflix now, they definitely feel a little dated. The story format feels a lot slower paced than we're used to. But at the time, I remember loving the show a lot. Because you're definitely right when you say it's dated, because in that time when you're stuck in that area, yes, there's rubber bands, there are, pencils, there are, things like that, duct tape, whatever. But now, especially to do a quote unquote modernized version, like there's an iPad. How are you going to get out of this situation? Yeah,
you see where technology comes into a lot of play for a lot more modern problem-solving solutions, like, hack the system, break the web.
Exactly.
That's a lot of
that'd be a tech-savvy kind of version.
Yeah, CSI, hacker edition.
Not an engineer version.
That's what they kind of, a lot of the solution, a lot of the problems revolve around, technology, computers. So it's less interesting than using a paperclip.
Exactly. Because who really uses a paperclip anymore? Yeah,
it was definitely kind of an at-the-time thing.
Yeah.
Our next story, though, is going to be Cartoon Network orders a new Fooly Cooly episodes. I really like this. This last story here. If you've never seen Fooly Cooly, it's an amazing anime show. This week, though, Cartoon Network announced that they are partnering with Legendary Pictures to produce 12 new episodes of the 2001 hit anime Fooly Cooly, or FLCL. The story follows a young man's humdrum life and how it's turned upside down with the arrival of an alien investigator. We actually included in our show notes a link to a trailer for the show. Check it out. Or you can check it out, I think, on Hulu or Netflix for the original series. But it's a super fun. It's one of those shows that has an amazing soundtrack that kind of draws people in, and then there's the crazy alien stuff that happens.
The visual aspects is great. The music is great. A different friend of mine had turned me to that. Like, dude, you got to try. If you have never seen it, you got to watch these episodes. He literally sat me down, put it on.
It's super unique. It's hard to describe because the episodes are kind of weird. But it's weird in a fun way.
It's fun. It's almost like the old MTV Liquid television kind of stuff.
But, yeah, it does have that kind of influence, right?
But it was kind of interesting. I've been seeing this, of course, like everyone else does, checks out memes and whatever that's on Facebook. Did you see this one where they showed like Cartoon Network, like from 10 years ago, the roster of the amount of characters come out to the current roster of Cartoon Network? It just shows like Adventure Time. That shows how limited they are. They're trying to bring back other shows, kind of like with like the Powerpuff Girls and whatnot. But Cartoon Network, man, it doesn't have that edge it used to have anymore.
No. I think they kind of seen, okay, we can not invest as much in original content and still maintain our viewership by replaying older shows or just licensing out shows from other countries. And it's expensive to make animated films, animated cartoons and series. So I can see why they would not want to invest as heavily in original content, because there's such amazing content internationally that you can just license on the cheap the work's already done. You get 24 episodes instantaneously, and you can rerun it in the United States as long as you keep those licenses going. And the content is better than anything they could potentially do.
You got to be thankful for their sister station Boomerang for all the Hanna-Barbera.
All the old stuff.
I just wish there was for Warner Brothers, but it's a little harder with Warner Brothers because certain racial cartoons that they can't show these modern times.
Some of their shows are a little,
PC.
again, talk about dated, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's going to be it for our Geek News section, folks. We're going to move on to our trailers of the week. Trailers of the week. Now, in our Trailers of the Week section, we discuss the best trailers that came out this week. And remember, you can watch all the full trailers at geekbytespodcast.com. And we begin this week with the trailer for
War Dogs, the true story of two young men, David Pacauz and Ephraim Diveroli, who won a $300 million contract from the Pentagon to arm America's allies in Afghanistan, starring Miles Teller and Jonah Hill.
This was a very interesting trailer. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it at first, but once it got me laughing, I knew I was all in. This is, to me, it seems like it's a Jonah Hill film. The other guy is it's just a side character. But it looks interesting. It seems funny. It involves gun running for the United States government, and I liked it.
So Jonah Hill's fat again, huh?
He is fat again.
He's fat again.
This is big Jonah Hill.
So it makes me wonder, especially they made a sequel, or are they gonna make a sequel to 21 Jump Street?
They've already made a sequel. There's a 22 Jump Street already out, and I think they're working on contract negotiations for a 21 Jump Street crossover with Men in Black.
Oh, that's right. So I wonder if Jonah Hill's still gonna be fat for that too.
He kind of bounces back and forth depending on the character. I think a lot of the characters he's been put in recently are bigger guys. He's I think, kind of justifying the drawback.
He's like a weird white Oprah, but I think you could gain and lose those pounds as much as you want, but I'm kind of concerned for his health, man. I'm
not as concerned for his health just because yes, bouncing back and forth weight-wise is not healthy for you. I'm not saying it's not. But I think he does it more for the roles. Like, he's willing to put in the work to drop, 50 pounds to be the slim Jonah Hill for a character role. And that takes a lot of dedication. So the fact that he gets bigger for some other roles, I'm like, he deserves it.
What do you feel? This is just a personal whatever thing. Do you like skinny Jonah Hill movies or fat Jonah Hill movies?
I don't care. I mean, he's funny as a human being. So that's kind of what I look like. I know a lot of people prefer the big guy. They prefer the visual comedy in addition to the character stuff. But to me, it's not. He's a good actor in addition to just being funny.
He's been in Oscar-nominated movies.
Yeah, he's been in Moneyball, which is a great role for him.
What's it called? I was going to say War Dogs. What was the one with Leonardo? Takes place in the 80s. The whole buying, selling, trade. That kind of stuff.
mean The Wolf of Wall Street?
There you go.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Check it out. It's actually really good.
Yeah, it's on Hulu right now. I just haven't got around. It's like
something that have you ever seen Casino? Like those kind of gangster flicks?
Yeah.
It gives you that kind of feel, like Goodfellas and whatnot. So once you put it on, you can oh, whoa.
I just have to kind of push past my initial inclination of not liking it. I loved that Wall Street movie with I forget his name, the guy from The Office.
I know who you're... that one.
Yeah, that one was really nice. But I like the documentary style for Wall Street. I don't like the bad aspects of it. It's just not as entertaining to me.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a good movie. I should put the time in for it. You're right. Our next trailer, though, that's besides the point, is Bridget Jones' Diary, or Bridget Jones' Baby, I should say. With two men, Colin Firth and Patrick Dempsey, in her life, a now 40-year-old pregnant Bridget Jones, Renee Zellweger, must figure out who's the father of her baby. Released date of September 16, 2016 for this one, folks. This looked amazing. I really liked... I didn't think I was going to like it. I'm not a huge fan of Renee Zellweger, but it got me laughing toward the end. And so, again, that's all I really need to get me interested in the trailer movies, to make me laugh, make me interested, and this did it.
The concept of who's the daddy, I don't know. I think I've watched too many Jerry Springer episodes.
It's kind of a dated topic.
Maury Povich kind of thing.
It's kind of how they handle it. And I think it was interesting. You know, it's supposed to be like a British rom-com with Renee Zellweger, who's very much not British.
Yeah.
But this is the third film, I believe, in the trilogy for Bridget Jones. I think it was Bridget Jones' Diary. I forget what the second one was.
Oh, really?
This is the same Bridget Jones, yeah.
I know they made obviously Bridget Jones' Diary.
That's
but I didn't
the
know
most
they made
famous
a sequel.
one. Yeah.
Oh. But I don't know. I think I liked her more in not just because it's the British humor and the accents and all that. I see her more in the Cold Mountain kind of, you know, those kind of roles. But she's taking care of herself too, you know, compared to the first Bridget Jones where she intentionally was a bigger girl and kind of was like, you know, losing the weight trying to get a man.
She does look very nice. That is true, but it's also an interesting story. And like I said, I plan to watch it. That's all I can really say. Check out the trailer for yourself. Judge for yourself,
You're a fan
folks.
of BBC, so that's why.
A BBC?
The BBC network.
Oh, okay. I was thinking something else entirely.
Yeah, you like the BBC stuff, so that's why.
The English people,
You're a fan of.
I'm a fan of that. You're right.
Have you ever watched real quick, semi-related Downton Abbey or Uptown Abbey or whatever?
I've seen a few episodes of Downtown Abbey. It's a period piece that I'm not really into.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, other stuff.
I don't know if you caught on to that hype. I didn't do. All right. Let's talk more other entertainment news. No discussion section, he says. Special correspondence. Eric Bana is teaming up with Ricky Gervais for a Netflix original movie called Special Correspondence, in which the duo play NYC radio broadcasters who pretend to be reporting from Ecuador. What their cover is almost blown. They end up having to actually go there and really get into the action they've tried so hard to avoid.
Yeah, Ricky Gervais, I'm a big fan of his. He kind of sets up this entire movie as being funny. Eric Bana, I've heard he can be funny, but he's mostly an action guy that I know from. I like this. It was a very interesting concept of basically two guys who are pretending to be reporting from Ecuador, but when the rest of the world kind of notices that they're not in Ecuador, they think they've gone missing and that, you know, terrorists have maybe kidnapped them or something. And so then they actually have to go to Ecuador.
Hey, we're actually here.
Yeah, we weren't faking the entire time. Please don't arrest us.
Exactly.
That kind of thing, committing fraud.
Well, like you said, Ricky Gervais is an awesome guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the kind of guy that calls it as it is. He's one guy, if he was in a lot of European British comedy movies, I would watch him because of him.
He's in quite a few British comedy movies.
Because that's where he originates.
Yeah.
so
I'm glad that you like him then.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you got to check him into those award shows or Golden Globes. Oh man, he calls them as he sees them, and they kind of.
Did you like him in The Office?
I haven't seen the original.
Yeah, the original Office.
Yeah, the original Office. I haven't watched it. I caught little snippets of.
Have you seen any of his other series that he's done? You can catch a lot of them on Hulu and Netflix if you want.
Honestly, I've caught a couple of his stand-up specials, which are really good, and he is a very social media friendly guy.
Oh, very much. He's almost a daily poster on Facebook.
Oh yeah, he's been on his bathtub with his cat, soaked up, wet and everything, just me.
He's even done some really good actual documentary stuff. I think he sent one of his friends on a tour around the world, and he pops up as a correspondent talking to his friend
or something
like that. Yeah, and it works really well. Even though his friends, they're not really actors or comedians, they're just regular blokes. People. Yeah. The banter between them is super funny and hilarious. Like, his entire circle is really funny. Like I said, check out some of his stuff on Hulu. He has several series besides The Office where he's done full comedic. Oh, yeah. There's one where, he's, I think, a movie producer, and he talks to people behind the scenes on movies, including a lot of famous people. And then there's one where he's a guy in a facility for the mentally handicapped or the retired or something.
Oh yeah.
There's that one, and I mean, he's just funny in general. But a lot of great stuff for him.
All his stuff. He's kind of like the a-hole friend that you don't mind keeping around.
Sort of, yeah. But he's just so funny.
Exactly.
You can't help.
That's why.
Yeah, you can't help it. Now our last trailer this week, folks, is going to be another TV one. Flash, Supergirl crossover. CBS has released a trailer for The World's Finest, which finds Barry Allen, the Flash, trapped on Supergirl's world. The video glosses over how Barry got there. It's one of those, interdimensional, 52 parallel universe things, I think, and how he came to be on a first name basis with Melissa Benoist's character, Kara. Instead, the trailer jumps straight to the camaraderie between the two heroes as they team up to take down Silver Banshee and Livewire. The episode airs this Monday, March the 28th.
It looked cute. It looked cute, like a very brother-sister kind of thing. It was. Yeah. They didn't try to link it like a romantic, like, oh, the Flash is falling for Supergirl.
The Flash hooks up.
How's it going to make it work? You know,
they're going to create super fast babies.
Exactly.
If there's anybody who could, Flash and Supergirl.
Well, won't take them long.
Yep.
But it looked good. My biggest thing is with these superhero TV shows, I wanted the link so much with the movies. Like, I want to see the Agent Shields hopefully more involved in like the Captain America Civil War movie, as well as hearing the mixed reviews of Batman versus Superman. I want to see eventually have a guest spot, even like a cameo, if you will, of like Superman going on Supergirl, not just showing the silhouette of Superman and being described as the blue guy, the guy in blue, or Mr. Red Cape or whatever.
I hear you. I think they're keeping those universes separately. I think Mark Zack Snyder said that the Flash from the movies is a different Flash from the television show, obviously, but he said that he thinks of them as being different universes. They're parallel universes. They're going with that New 52 kind of thing where you have 52 parallel universes, you can tell different stories. And so the TV universe is its own, separate parallel universes from the movies, which is why their stories don't intermingle and the consequences of those stories don't change each other. So it's unfortunate, but it is a story choice. I kind of like the Marvel method of the movies affecting the television shows the way they do with Marvel's Agents show, like you said before. So I think the tying kind of makes everything fit together a little better, and I like that kind of world. But I really love this trailer, and I'm happy to see that it's coming out this week. I'm happy to see Flash come back at all, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to, though, the Kevin Smith episode, which
the director
just finished filming in Canada this week. And so they just have to put it together.
My thing is, especially because obviously we're both fans of Kevin Smith, his directorial is just directing. Does he messes with the script at all that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, from the Facebook posts that I've seen from him regarding the subject and the stuff he said on the air, he has influence on the direction that the story takes as far a little bit. I mean, the stories are kind of set in stone as far as what's happening plot wise, but his influence can be seen in the way that the actors handle it, the cuts that are made, that kind of stuff. And so you're not going to get like snoochy stuff. You might see I've seen Jason Mewes on set. So you might see a cameo from him and Kevin Smith.
That's true. They've done it with some other stuff with the DC universe. Maybe, the Flash will end up in the mall up Kevin in Canada.
He's written for Arrow, so.
Exactly.
So why not? But you're probably not going to get the classic Kevin Smith humor, pot jokes and whatnot.
If he says 37, I'm going to laugh.
He might try to sneak it. But that's going to be it for us for our main news section, folks. We thank you very much for listening. Everyone who listens and supports the podcast, we really appreciate everything that you do for us. If you too want to support us, one way that you can support the podcast and help us reach some of our goals, like high quality videos of the podcast, commentary tracks, live broadcasts, and even some original geeky content, is by signing up for our monthly support program at patreon.com/Geek Bytes Podcast.
As a special patron subscriber, you'll receive exclusive access to special content and rewards like a shout out on the podcast, special geeky videos, exclusive Skype calls from us, or even a spot on the show as a co-host for an episode. I like to say, hey, if you give us some extra bucks, send us to a con. We'll bring something from the con to you.
That's definitely a thing that we can do. We can do special events and film them and record them and share them with the audience. Those kind of things happen with better funding, obviously. But I kind of like these goals. I mean, these are simple goals for us, doing extra high-quality videos, commentary tracks, live broadcasts, and just special content. All this can be done relatively inexpensively, and the reasonable goals, going to cons and doing special live events. Also, things we could do if you guys are interested in seeing that happen. You totally have a lot of input, I should say, if you actually become a Patreon subscriber. It's just a way of supporting us financially and helping us focus on it and creating new things and kind of just paying the costs of the podcast and stuff.
Because let's be honest, depending on what part of the world, because we do got fans all over the world, not everybody can just go to a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we live in an area where we get
cons every year. Yeah.
and just, helping just for even just the gas money alone, we'll get you something. We'll give you whatever some of the exclusives that they might have,
Absolutely.
some swag.
Heck, if you're a big time $10 muscle subscriber, we will totally get you something.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But thank you, everyone, for listening and supporting us in any way that you choose to do so. If you want to support us some other way, you can always check out the other ways at geekbytespodcast.com/support for all the ways you can support us, of course.
Love the feedback.
Love the feedback. Thank you very much for listening, folks, for Geek Bytes Podcast. I'm Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Costa.
Now, go geek out about something.